big point here is,
So that's not hard.
there's all these other science schools.
Well said.
It was.
Yeah.
I think this is the latest team. Version, but knowing that they're going to better times, that sort of thing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know which one you want to speak.
It's kind of a good spot thing.
Oh,
And near the high school, if you want to. So anyway, that's, please understand my lives.
Information.
yeah.
Right.
But
So
what's, what?
that's the tough part.
And if you take the one, what we chat on there, it's a what?
Okay.
Is that your screen share?
Yep.
Okay.
I just wanted to get. All right.
Go ahead.
Going pretty well.
Where's the rest of your?
I don't know.
Mission here.
I don't know. Where'd that Nick guy? Yeah.
How many people?
Should just be little red laser thing. Yeah, I don't have those yet.
Who will be?
Convenient to you. Just one laser pointer.
Oh, I never thought that. You should not have that. You know what, if I take the DC?
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
If it's a problem, I will.
What's your office? Oh, yeah. So if Jamie. What do you mean? So if Jamie and Aria don't show up, everybody else has to.
So you need one more.
Who's not?
Oh, yeah.
Erica.
A little bit.
Underdressed. Yes. Jamie, Erica.
I'm not a chemistry fan though.
No.
It's not the science for me. It's just regular chem, yeah, not AP chem. It's not my science.
We all have the different strengths and interests and.
Very excited for physics next year,
Okay.
not chemistry.
No,
It's kind of survived this year.
Strangely,
just make it
I
happen.
didn't have that busy of a
I
day today,
did. Thank you.
but I'm also worn out in anticipation of my next 3 weeks. at work.
Probably English.
So I'm also just
AP
pre-worn
science
out for my, in
or
anticipation of my next
AP
3 weeks at work.
Yeah. I like the humanities.
Do you have that?
Not really a math or a science person on the whole.
I'm surprised being here. I thought there'd be still
I
elections.
think they finished, well, yeah, I guess they got it all torn down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
All the election stuff, you know, they had it all in here, so,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, that's
That's all gone.
yeah, Friday was it.
Yeah.
So
I need to leave my jacket on. It's cold.
You go
Okay.
out for lunch.
school or do you stay at school?
I should take tomorrow. I should have taken tomorrow off and done
Have
that.
my license yet?
Yep.
I will in
You
like
could do
2
that.
minutes.
Well, it's a little
Okay.
late.
Yeah.
And lunch periods are only like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's amazing.
Yeah, unless
Yeah.
you're a senior, it's a Thursday or a Friday or
Okay,
for long lunch.
I just
Yeah.
want to make.
But
Yeah.
otherwise I can't. On Wednesday, I'll get to, because
All
I'm
right.
over at Glacier Creek,
Is it-
do a environmental education thing.
Oh, I put it before my
Talk
car.
about like
Oh,
sustainability.
2 minutes.
All right.
And then I'm called out until 2, but I finish at 1, so I'm going out to lunch with my dad, and then I'm going back to
Okay, so
school.
we
Good
have.
job taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
Or if we had anybody else.
Nice. What grade are you working with at Glacier?
But what that.
Working
is our
with
second
6th
agenda.
graders, and then we go back later in the year,
Yep.
8th graders,
And
and
then
then
Ryan,
probably 8th
because he
graders,
likes
and then
Forestry.
throughout in between, we try to hit all the elementary schools too.
Oh, wow. Are they pretty attentive?
Elementary schools, not really. We get them to play a game though, and then pay attention.
Then they pay
Yeah.
attention to that. That's outstanding. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
That's great.
I've had lunch. I started when I went to the high school because it's just
Yeah, especially right
the
away.
lines.
So you got the one.
You see, that's what my son
Yeah.
says too.
And the, like, there's like some days where it was
Right
like
at 7.
great.
Official time.
6:59 according
So
to.
Be nice if we
There's
did that
more
big
options
clock
now.
there.
I don't feel like waiting on the team's line. Here we go. I just take a
I got a little.
All right.
Time today. I was doing
Nice.
really.
It is 7 o'clock, so I think we'll go ahead and call to order the November 4th, 2024 Parks Record and Forestry Commission meeting. Kylie, do you have the roll?
Yes, we have, oh, here we go. We have, Jamie O'Donnell is out tonight along with, Aria Trucos. So, 2 members not present and we have a full, or a quorum, for tonight's meeting.
All right. The next order of business is to accept the minutes from our last meeting. Any additions, changes, subtractions? All right, I'll accept the minutes as submitted. All right, on to our agenda items. So 1 and 2 go together. So what we're going to do is we'll have the presentation on the plan, on the design concept for the Lakeview Park tennis courts and entrance. After the presentation, we will then open it up to public comment. So we'll start off with the presentation on the on the design concept. We'll go over the design concept.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna do a quick introduction here on the project. And then we have Ryan and Lance from Rettler Corporation that will take away the presentation with the design concept. And we have or a few other pieces to present as well. So we entered into agreement with Rettler Corporation in August for design engineering service for Lakeview Park entrance tennis court redesign project. And the city's goals on this were safety, or our safety around the tennis court, the entrance, accessibility, parking, walkability, lighting, which they will go through those, and then just the usability for current park users and for the future of this park and future amenities as well. And then current issues that we noted that the tennis courts were in poor condition. We actually had partnered with the school district and Village of Cross Plains to do an athletic study a few years back. You guys might have remembered that being on the agenda. It went to Common Council as well. Rettler was actually the folks that did the entire study on those athletic facilities. And out of that, the tennis courts were noted as the worst condition facility at Lakeview Park and most need of repair and reconstruction. And then also the accessibility to the courts, we noted seating and lighting for path and parking areas, and then just vehicle traffic, something our team has brought up several times. I was in the park last Saturday. There was a vehicle driving around the pond. There's also been incidents where people have ran into our shelter building, have ran over our lights or some of our amenities And it could be people instead of items. So that's something that we really wanted to address for safety with vehicle traffic into the park and where pedestrians walk as well. And then just ADA accessibility is always in part with all of our designs or redesigns. And then also just aesthetics of the park entrance, taking a look at that as you, where the main entrance of this park is, and walking into that. So that kind of sums up some of our concerns that we brought forward. And timeline for this project, we can go through as well. I don't know, do you have that as a part of your run through? So timeline, we have been going through and doing or Rutler has been going and doing surveying and several studies and assessments on this site of and I should bring this up for you guys to look at while we're going here, but they have reviewed, they have been reviewing this entire site and assessing the site in the outlined area here, and which they will go over a little bit further. And that's been taking place over the last few months to gather data. And then we have just opened up a public input form online. I hope some of you have seen that. And that input form is going to be open until November 11th. Once all of data is gathered, I will send it out to the Park and Rec Board before our next meeting. And if there's any adjustments to the concept plan that you guys are looking at tonight, but tonight is mostly presentation, initial review, any feedback to Rutler and staff for direction that we may want to go for this site. And it is broken up into 3 phases, which Lance will go through. We do have funds allocated in 2025 for tennis court reconstruction for that phase of the project. So we're planning on reconstructing those in 2025. And then the other pieces would be in future years when money is allocated to those phases of the project. So Lance can take it from here and run through this for you.
Alrighty, thank you. So like I said, I am Lance. I'm here with Ryan at Redler, going through the 3 different phases of our concept proposal for Lakeview Park. So phase 1 is the one highlighted in red, which is the main focus of what we're looking at right now, the pickleball and or tennis courts. So as you said, we're going to be reconstructing the whole site, either with asphalt, more ideally a post-tension court system, and also introducing a side viewing panel for an audience who's watching these members here. It shows space for 3 benches at each set of courts. But the biggest piece of feedback we're looking for is number of tennis and or pickleball courts and what maybe the appropriate amount of seating is there. So we brought what we think is appropriate for now, but clearly open for a lot of feedback to that. As pickleball is growing, that's the reasoning for the 6 pickleball courts that we focused with that there. One thing I will note is that the actual footprint of the courts would be shifted a few feet to the west to help with the topography because of coming off the baseball field and to the marsh to the north. So the actual footprint would be shifted just a little bit to help with being able to build the courts and have that seed viewing panel added. Phase 2 is in the yellow. That is reconstructing the current one-way pervious parking lot. We're talking with Kylie. It looks like we would do impervious parking here, and we've decided to inverse the direction of the traffic flow that would go through there. The idea being that when people come to events, you kind of arrive at sporadic times. So everybody will be coming through one outlet at random times, but everybody leaves at the same time. So this gives the opportunity for 2 separate outlets of departure for the project. And with this, we've kept in mind that more stormwater management practices would be needed. So to the east side of the parking lot, there'd be space open left for that. And a part of this, creating a better connection to the neighborhood across the street with the sidewalks that would help connect from across the street all the way up to the building. There's a clear path that connects the whole way. And as you can see, we're doing our best here to harm the existing trees as least as possible. All of the trees displayed on this diagram are existing trees. There's no proposed ones currently. And then moving into phase 3, one thing I mentioned, the phase 2, the lot, there's 21 new proposed spaces. Phase 3, outlined in the blue. This was brought up with kind of what was Kylie saying, people are driving up, kind of throughout the paths throughout the lake and up towards the building, and things are a little bit sporadic. So this is working on creating a separation between pedestrians and vehicles, that one-way drop off, and also provides the opportunity for closer handicapped parking, for the building specifically. So we kind of have that roundabout drop off and then a different entrance, the pedestrian path towards the lake. Obviously this will move the dumpster area, which we have moved slightly, just right now a tentative appropriate spot for where the garbage truck is going, back up and pull back out, should have fencing, everything needed for that space. And then closer to the building, the biggest thing was creating, from the feedback from Kyle, was creating a path to the main entrance on the northwest side of the building. Currently people are going through the overhang roof, which sometimes is rented out. People have that space. So having the main path lined with plantings would help be the more directing path to the main entrance of the building. And then there's also, as you can see, different opportunities here for some more outdoor seating and gathering spaces for people. And the layout of that plays off of the existing geometry on the northeast side of the building. So it kind of replicates that space. So any feedback that you have for us on this project, really appreciate it. Great time.
And I just want to show the current layout too, so we can toggle back and forth. Just kind of the current layout, I think, is good to note. Where the tennis court is, there's no connections to the parking lot or to the sidewalk. And then currently you go in this direction into this parking area. We actually, like, this corner is so tight that it's actually very hard to do snow removal on with our straight blade or V blade trucks that typically do all of our parking lots. And then this is kind of where the bioswale, that area for stormwater they're looking at, but just expanding to another bay and making that corner not so tight to increase parking, but then switching the direction so you can have an entrance in and then out. I have had engineering take a look at this piece just for traffic and direction and all of that, and they were open and actually suggested to flip it as well. So looking at that, the dumpster, if you've been to the site, I almost think pictures instead of looking at this map would do that justice, but where that garbage can is currently located, our dumpster is like right at the entrance of the park, and tucking that a little bit back there. We would, I know we've gotten comments or questions just about moving it to an opposite end of the parking lot. Engineering built this where these two bays are actually, the asphalt is thicker for a garbage truck. So that's why we would want it located somewhere within the second bay area. And then being close to the shelter with the cart, how the cart goes in that direction. The increase for parking too, I guess I'm jumping back here, but the increase to parking is just looking at the future of this entire park and the entire park space, community park space. If we take a look at adding or redoing our playground or our splash pad in the future and making that an all ability or increasing our splash pad amenities in this area. Also, we have a deteriorating shelter that's in this location and is not well serviced in the park. So taking a look at adding another shelter space in the middle area for gathering. And then having this this portion of the park be an amenity for the community and having that connectivity if there are trails or disc golf or anything in the future, just having increased amenities in this park. I am working on usage numbers for our next meeting, for all tennis court, field use, shelter use and everything within this park and all of our courts throughout the community. So you guys will have that data. But just kind of looking in the future, that's why I wanted to expand parking as much as possible for those future amenities. And this is that sore spot of where people can drive, something that you can't see here, but you would be able to note if you're walking in the park during the peak season is that a lot of the native plantings are like 10 feet tall. So you can't view into the park. And then what people are driving in and out here while kids are going to the splash pad or families are, or people that just need ADA access are coming in and out. So that creates a lot of conflict. We've had a lot of close calls and issues arise from this spot. So that's kind of what we were talking about there and trying to figure out a turnaround spot here. In this plan, they did survey out the 3 football fields that we utilize and noting that those football field sizes would still fit within the design. And we do use it for some soccer and things like that, but nothing organized other than the flag football that we would want to ensure we have the amount of space for. And then also taking a look at that entranceway. We're trying to separate an entrance for 2 user groups. So if we have a birthday party here, people aren't walking through that. I've had complaints on the weekends just with how can we lock the doors so people aren't coming into our party, or why are there people walking through our party? So trying to create more of an entrance that would have that access at that point of the building for the one group, and they could still access that point of the building. The Kiwanis Club is also very active in this area and helping beautify the park. And so we're trying to find a location that they could have plantings in a very visible area, and we could showcase everything that the Kiwanis does to beautify our park. So we put those planting beds in that area. Just to give a little bit more context on the project, but thank you, Lance. I don't know if you have anything else, Lance or Ryan.
No, not right now.
All right.
I just want to comment how fabulous the one-way drop-off loop looks. When we had a tour, when it was warmer, that just was a really striking, dangerous little spot.
Mhm.
So really well done. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Is there a way to switch the timeline for the more parking along Mendota Avenue versus the correcting of the drive for the Lakeview Park? I think I heard you say tennis courts first, then adding more parking and then Lakeview. Did I hear
Then the
that?
loop.
The loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's how the phases are on here. Is there a certain reason why we
No.
had them that way?
From our perspective, it's just labeled for the 3 different areas. It's not really phases. Phase 1, we know, has budget as far as moving tennis forward, but really then it's up to you guys to determine how those pieces move forward.
So I would agree. I think that the phase 3 would be much more of a pressing need,
Yeah,
and additional parking can wait if we need to.
Flipping phase 2 with phase 3.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
that
doing this
idea.
second.
I like
yeah.
that idea.
How about 2 tennis courts? You feel like that's going to be adequate, and 6 pickleball courts, Michelle?
I don't know, all the usage, but I see JV from the high school over there. And it seems like they use all 4 tennis courts, but I don't know. I think that'd be good information. And then there's also a tennis pro over there that does a lot of lessons. So they use 2 of the courts quite regularly. So then having only 2 tennis courts over there, if the lessons are going on, then there's no accessibility to tennis courts would be my observation.
I'd like to hear from Debbie.
I think that, is it okay if we start, go with public comment and then we can kind of contribute then?
Before you do, if we have to have another tennis court, did we go from 6 pickleball to 2
Do 4. 4 could work.
and another tennis
Yeah,
court?
you do 4 tennis courts and 4 pickleball courts.
Oh, wow.
Or if you want, you can put pickleball courts on both sides and have 8 then. That is possible as well. So you essentially you put 2 pickleball courts over 1 tennis court and tennis court.
So what he's saying is this area right here would have 2 tennis courts and you would put pickleball court
Yeah,
lines on
yeah.
them, but you'd only get 4 on this side. The one caveat to that is the funding piece of this. We'd have to look at a little further. So 50% of the project is funded by park development. So that's expansion. So we'd have to look into that a little bit further where 50% of that is capital borrowing. So if you're redoing something and not adding something, then you have to use capital borrowing. And that's what we have allocated for 2025 is 50%. 50% park development and 50% capital. So that.
So-
Just.
I think we'll take the public comments and we can come back and, take, that way we can also take into consideration what the public has to provide. So start with Catherine Tyson, you wish to speak. I just head up to the microphone. Just for the record, please state your name and address and we'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Catherine or Kitty Tyson. My address is 1615 Pondview Court in Middleton. I am here representing just myself, although I was on the Parks and Rec Commission in 2017 and 18 when we talked about Lakeview Park and the expansion and changes and what the proposals were at that time. And so this is my commenting on a lot of the things that we had issues with and how it has evolved over time. The pickleball courts, I don't have a big problem with one way or another. We have a lot of pickleball courts going in and a lot of tennis courts going in. The high school has a whole new set of tennis courts being built not too far from here. For Lakeview. And certainly the Taylor Park pickleball courts are, very, very well used. Lots and lots of people there all the time. I think we probably want to take better inventory and get a better handle on how many courts of all types there are around the area and how well used. I don't know that we need a whole lot more. I was going to say I didn't have any particular issues with changing 2 tennis courts to 6 pickleball courts or whatever. But I don't think that the parking implications of doing that are very substantial. And the reason I'm saying that is parking, the parking decisions that were made in 2017 and 18 to get us to the point where we had 1 set of parking spots along the drive was set up, and we argued it quite a bit because the problem was it was taking space away from what was being proposed as a rugby field. Not exclusively rugby, certainly, but rugby being a sport that Middleton didn't have, other than the one gentleman who had come in as a coach, Paul Strode, and helped to design and set up a team here. The problem we ended up with here in Middleton is that a regulation sized rugby field is 390 feet long by 250 feet wide, and that's far bigger than any of the other sports we've got. And I've got tons and tons of background that we collected to help us get to that. And I'd be happy to send it to whoever might want it if that's of interest to anybody. But went back and looked into things. The other point being the idea that we had with the rugby field was if there are no other rugby fields in Middleton, and we can certainly put a lot of other sports inside that space. And if you had 390 feet wide by 250 feet, you put 3 soccer fields, et cetera, et cetera. We had some pretty thorough analyses of what was going on in Middleton at the time. The other thing we have issues with, and I'm sure we still do, is that field is low and it gets water, saturated water in springtime, and it's hard to operate, with any sport or set of activities with a wet field. So what we were trying to do is to take that entire 390 feet by 250 and get it raised, and then have an area around it that the storm drain could be designed in some way such that it would drain into the pond, the existing pond, make the pond deeper, potentially expand it to some extent. But the concept of the 390 feet is, and by 250 means that you need a lot more of the space there. And what they ended up doing, let me just say first.
And time has come. So let you finish your thought and then time has come.
The parking situation is such that we don't need the parking that got added. So we certainly don't need to double it. The parking that got added was stated at the time as being necessary for the baseball field down the road, and they don't use it. They park on Mendota Avenue and go all the way up to University and use our, this South Central parking lot, but they don't use, there's maybe 4 cars parked there at most during the games. And the other need that the city insisted on was the VFW, because they would need special parking for the VFW's new memorial facility. And I've gone to multiple VFW memorials over the years. I'm sorry, I'll finish, I'll wrap this up. And they don't use it either, because what the people want to do is go and use the handicap parking in the central south parking lot, and then walk across past the shelter so that they're near facilities and they can use those facilities if they need it. Anyway, I'm sorry, there's a lot more issues and a lot more that I wish had been offered to these guys, because it seems like they're doing a great job of solving a lot of your security problems. And I totally understand where you're going with a lot of that, but.
Right. Thank you. Right. Dan Vorud.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan Root, 6203 Lakeview Boulevard, just across the street, kind of from the park here. I'm gonna try my best to summarize it in 3 minutes, but I see a lot with this. I like the concept of adding connection to the tennis courts, pickleball courts, and I don't have a problem at all with that. I love the concept of separated driveway and parking for handicap accessibility to the shelter from the walkway. That's constantly an issue during summer and during winter, even as people try to get in and out, park along there, and park even over by the west shelter. There's always people driving in there, so to have separated parking that's not readily accessible for people is a great concept, so that they're not conflicting with users. Couple issues that I have previously mentioned, the parking along Mendota Avenue there. There was a lot of contention when that was added in making it any bigger than what it was for usage of the fields. I know it does get used some when there's stuff going on there, but it's, again, there's not a lot of people that park in there a lot of times. So I think the amount of parking that's there right now is acceptable. I think switching the direction on that is a, pretty serious mistake from a traffic flow standpoint, coming out by Allen Boulevard there. If people in that parking area, especially with extra parking, can only come out by Allen, I think there's gonna be a lot of backups. And people that are trying to turn left onto Allen from that space that pull out onto Mendota without thinking that there's people turning onto Mendota from Allen. So I think you're gonna have a lot of traffic conflicts there if you switch that direction. I think having everybody come out at Mendota and Gateway there, I think is a great idea, that we have right now, because it minimizes the traffic conflicts with Allen and Mendota there, especially with the proposed and continuing, development of what used to be soccer fields on Allen. And the talk that has been had about potentially putting a stoplight at Mendota and Allen. I think that would only make things even worse to have people trying to turn left onto Mendota and then left onto Allen or anything like that with switching the direction of that traffic. Another problem that I have with this concept is I like the expansion on the southeast corner of the shelter of the added seating there. I think that's a great usage, especially during the Middleton night out, when, you know, they're always trying to put the sound system and stuff like that in the shelter. But to have that outside the shelter, I think would be great. I don't care for the expanded seating on the west edge of the shelter. It always feels intrusive to get to the bathroom when there's something going on in the shelter as is. So I think adding extra seating and extra kind of party spaces there would make it feel even more intrusive to access the restroom in the shelter. I think adding seating over on kind of that west shelter area, looking at possibly doing that, potentially adding bathrooms over there, I think would be a great idea. But I don't care for adding that right now at the shelter, just because if there's already conflicts with what's existing there, adding extra seating is gonna make more conflicts with people that are trying to use that space and having people come there.
Yep. Yeah, your 3 minutes are up. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right. Do we have anyone online wishing to speak?
I see a Robin. I'm not sure if you're here to speak on this topic.
I am.
Could you, yeah,
All right. Could you please state your name and address?
Sure, it's Robin Sweet, 1411 Shady Oak Circle, Middleton.
All right. And you'll have 3 minutes.
I didn't prepare anything because I didn't expect to speak, but I am wearing pickleball clothes, so I'm halfway there. I just wanted to say that for people in the pickleball community, we're very thrilled to see that you are investing in more courts. This is truly an intergenerational sport, something you can get young people out doing, and people who play with me. I've got one guy who's 85 years old who's playing, and many people in their 70s and all the ages in between. So in terms of Middleton meeting community needs, I think it's fantastic. My suggestion is, of course, we don't want the slant that happened at Taylor Park, because I know that's been a problem for you guys. And the players don't love it either, especially those with hip replacements. Fences between the courts would be very helpful, because fences make good neighbors and you're not shooting your balls into other people's courts. Seating at the north end would be terrific, because you could see 3 courts at once versus the 2, but even just an extra bench or something of that nature. But the thing I wanted to address also is I had 2 children in the high school tennis program, and for the most part, the JV girls I can speak to played on those courts mid-August through September, and that was it. So that's 1.5 months, and from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Occasionally, they'd go practice earlier at 3 p.m. in August. So they're not really high use. I would hate to see us forgo the 6 pickleball courts, because maybe they're going to be used, because there were seasons where we didn't have enough children in the program. And used for 2 hours on Tuesday and Thursday or Monday through Thursday, because it's not an everyday thing. And I think that's about it.
All right, well, thank you very much. Here's some input. I know, Dave, you were one of the,
Well,
had
yeah, I
some
have a
comments
few
for
things.
you.
I guess, has there been any surveys of current usage of the tennis courts? And how much high school uses it and what's gonna happen after they get, I mean, this whole tennis court versus pickleball is a big question that I have no clue.
Yeah, I think that's probably a really big question for everybody is usage. We are working on usage report that will be on the next agenda for Lakeview Tennis Court from 2023 and 2024. And then also the Taylor pickleball courts, and then all of the tennis courts in the entire city. Not in the entire city, the Parks and Rec tennis courts that we oversee. So you will have usage reports on that, usage on the shelter, all the shelter gazebo usage and number of people, and then the field usage as well. I think having all that data for usage of the park is important when we're looking at elements of this project. But if you guys would like to see something more than that, I can definitely get it prepared for you. Right now, the high school JV does utilize the 4 courts. They do, and we do have over 70 of the forms, survey forms filled out. So that will also be on the upcoming packet from all the input from the community and as well as the athletic director.
But whether this be all pickleball, all tennis, some mix, probably is something that doesn't have to be determined right now, because the question is, can the asphalt be done? We can worry about where to put in posts and paint a little later. So if we delay the decision on that, that's not a big deal, I assume.
I think it's important to figure out the direction of the project, if we're going to have tennis or pickleball and how many, and if they overlap. I know from previous experience, and maybe Ryan, you guys can speak to this a little bit, having tennis and pickleball on the same or overlapping programming, that can be very challenging. Of who uses the net is different, the size of the court is different, and you can have courts, but
I wasn't suggesting that they be combined so that one area serves both 2 purposes. I'm just saying that I know you can. I'm just saying that for purposes of tonight, we could adjust the number of pickle versus tennis courts at a later date. And it
Yes,
really
they want to have more
Okay.
data. in
It
there,
really
too.
won't change
Yeah.
the initial construction of anything.
okay, I get what you were saying.
But I'm glad to hear that we're going to be getting some more data on that, because I would really like that. As far as the parking lot and the exit, 2 questions. One, did we talk to engineering about having an additional exit going out to Bedota from the current large rectangular parking lot?
I was thinking the same thing close. I was thinking like towards the tennis and pickleball courts.
Yeah.
If we looked at what? I'm so sorry.
Well, right-
Adding another curb cutout.
right there.
Yep.
Yeah,
We did not.
because I mean, that seems like it would be a pretty straightforward solution to some of these issues in terms
We're gonna continue working over here,
of.
so.
And I mean, I want engineering to weigh in on that. And regardless of where the exit is, either on, when you start talking about 2 or actually 3 exits all very close to each other. Yes, the exit from the farther east, the queue to Allen Boulevard is almost non-existent. And that one, or an additional one over one of the 2, maybe make those potentially right out only, so that we don't run into that issue with Allen Boulevard.
I know.
Yeah.
And trying to clean up some of the potential traffic issues.
Well, and the other thing I was thinking of too, and this is just more of as people are driving into the park looking for a parking spot.
Yeah.
You know, if you pull in at the entrance, that entrance, and you turn right into that longer parking lot, you're driving down and all of a sudden you don't have, all the spots are full. You know, you're looking for a spot and everything's full. Now you're coming back on the Mendota and you're looping back around again. Because if you come in closer to Allen, you can, you know, if there's no spots there, you just go into the bigger parking lot.
Right. I mean, I
So-
see advantages and disadvantages of both.
Mhm. Right.
But I guess, you know, back to the survey, do we need a parking lot? And, you know, I don't know. I
Right.
mean, overall, yeah, I think there's a lot of good things going on with the plan here.
Mhm. And the other question I have, you know, the high school just is wrapping up their tennis court project, or they did wrap it up, you know, up by, you know, across the street from the pool. Do we know offhand if they expanded their tennis courts, the number of tennis courts there, or is it the same number that they used to have?
They did not expand their
Okay.
tennis courts.
Okay, because I was hoping they
Right.
did, because that would
Well-
help alleviate, you know, if they use this.
I was
but-
hoping we had a conversation about that before we had. So we can figure things
Yeah.
like that, this out of the future of the parks and school district
Mhm.
facilities.
Yeah, that's the next thing. I think just a broader survey of what the schools use in the park system. You know, I think that's a different agenda item, but I think we've seen a couple instances over the last couple months where we're finding, at least kind of new to me, that the high school are using certain parks facilities. So I think that'd be good, just to have that inventory. But any other thoughts about the initial design?
I agree with the main parking lot having a second exit entrance. I think if there really are gonna be that many pickleball courts over there, I love tennis and pickleball. It would, you know, relieve a little bit of that pinch point of one. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
I had a picky question about the estimate here, and I understand why you did what you did. I'm not trying to complain about that. I also understand that bids come in at more or less estimated prices. And it sounds like you're predicting that you're gonna remove all the asphalt, take it out, then put down some more subgrade, and then put asphalt on top of that. As opposed to pulverizing the asphalt that's there, using that for the subgrade, and then putting new asphalt on top of the pulverized asphalt.
Can you just make sure the microphone's on green? I appreciate it. Yeah, okay.
Green. Okay, yes, you are right. Looking at the estimate, that is, you're interpreting that correct, that the plan with demolition is to remove that existing asphalt and base course to get down to a true rebuild of that pavement structure. We did have, like Kylie mentioned, we did a topographic survey of this portion of the park, not the entire park, but the portion that you see up here. We have coordinated geotechnical investigation of the court area specifically. And also they did one boring over by the one-way parking. And the soil is very variable out there. There's a lot of silts. There's a thick layer of peat. There's a bunch of fill that had been placed historically to, I'm sure, flatten the area to make it usable. So in general, there's not very good soil there to start with. And based off of the condition of the courts and the failures of that pavement structure, it does seem like a full rebuild is going to be most cost effective.
Did you core any of the area in the existing tennis courts?
Yeah, we did 3 pavement cores, about 2 feet,
Okay,
and then 3 borings around.
okay. And then continue with the poor soils and need for additional, okay, stabilization. Okay. Wait, if you put geotextile down, how far down would that be?
Yeah, so what was recommended in the geotech report for pavement structure there is 4 inches of asphalt, 8 inches of base, I believe, on top of a geogrid. So yes,
Okay,
remove the existing, prep it to subgrade and lay down a geogrid to help stabilize that,
okay,
and then base course and asphalt. So
but
you will see we did set up an alternate for post-tension concrete.
yeah,
Which is becoming, it's coming more and more to the Midwest. Wisconsin hasn't embraced it as much over the years, but for tennis, it's a very good application. At more upfront cost, of course, long term, you get a much better facility. we did set that up as an alternate just to see that with our, post-tension concrete, essentially, we still have base course, but you have concrete instead of asphalt. And then with that concrete, there's wire tendons that go through the concrete with tension that actually holds it together. And what that does, it limits the cracking. So with asphalt pavement, you know, we do saw cuts to identify where it's going to crack. We think it will continue to crack. With the post-tension concrete, if there is any cracking, it's just held very tight, so it's not evident, and it doesn't grow over years. You don't have as much maintenance with it. And then it does last longer. So where that asphalt pavement within 15 to 20 years left, get completely removed again and replaced, that post-tension concrete will probably last 25 to 30 years. So your long-term maintenance is less, but you have an upfront cost of 20 to 30.
Okay.
Obviously, budgets and everything else, those are decisions that happen.
Right, I just get concerned when you put down geotextile, you know, shallow, and then you go to pulverize and it doesn't work too well. All right, thank you.
Yeah, and with like, I don't know, you guys have been to tennis courts and that before, all the those poles start pulling out. That's basically kind of what you see with all asphalt courts. So it is a bigger cost with that concrete, but it would be something we wouldn't have to go and crack seal or crack fill and seal and do as much work on. So thank you.
Regarding the overall schedule, like you said, Kylie just trying to bring this back in the next couple of weeks. I know you're gonna bring more information back to the group regarding usage. As far as our project of this tennis pickleball facility and moving that forward for 2025 construction, that's what we're hoping is that maybe not exactly 2 weeks, we're gonna have to completely clear direction, but shortly thereafter, that then we'll be able to dig into the details of gate locations and fence heights and whether it is pickleball or how many courts, exactly what the details of that design are. Because as we roll through design in December and potential for bidding and permitting and everything else as we get into January, February, you know, we're gonna want to move that project forward so that we're on a timeline next summer, you know, to maximize usage. So I know you commented about pickleball and if those decisions need to be made soon, you know, that will be part of, you know, the exact court dimensions and everything else that we will need. So we will want to know where are we going with this, whether it is tennis or pickleball, how many courts, and setting it up, you know, divider fences, what the court offsets are. Those are the fine details that we want to get into right now. Obviously tonight's more.
Have you any other feedback?
I kind of wanted to know what the general thoughts were, like from over here about that extra parking space, because it sounds like what's already there isn't being used, but that corner is causing contention. But I'm also not sure if that full field is being utilized as like a rugby field. I don't think we have any kind of rec rugby, so I don't know if it's the biggest concern to preserve that. But again, it doesn't sound like all of this is being used here.
We don't currently have, the field is not big enough for rugby at this location. It might have been in previous years. I know there's tree plantings and that, but right now what we rent it out for is rec soccer, flag football heavily. We rent it out for other uses, but those are kind of our two main ones that we want to be concerned with, field dimension. And the flag football is kind of the bigger one because when we do have soccer, they kind of just use it as an open field for skills and drills in this location. But we could look at, we don't have any soccer nets out. It's more of a green space opening. But if we do need to or want to look at having this court or this field be utilized for something else, I can get the dimensions of what this would be, just so we can note that. And then also, if in the future we need to look at any rugby usage, in my time here in the 2 years, we haven't had anybody come forward with with rugby, but it doesn't mean that it's not an interest in the community. We have our master plan coming up, which will be we'll want input like that for if we want to see a rugby field in the future. We have a lot of parks coming online that could service a field space for rugby, there's a lot of other needs I know from the community that will come forward in that process. But just for this field, I don't think, for the safety concern with that turnabout, that we would be looking at expanding the size to meet a rugby dimension.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I would say also, I think probably it might be smarter to expand that and then also look into bringing more people to that field. Like, ultimate frisbee is a really big thing in the area. You could probably, there's the MUFA Rec League. I'm sure they'd also be looking for fields as well as like the middle school needs space for teams and stuff. So I think you could probably bring more attraction to that space and then that would fill up more parking spaces as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Is there any other feedback? Otherwise, we're waiting for some data for next week before we kind of like finalize the pickleball versus tennis courts ratio. Do we get enough information for you, Kylie, and for Edler? I mean, I know we'll come back in a couple weeks with a little bit more, finalize some of those things, elements in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
Right.
I wanted to make sure you guys got a initial stab at
Mhm.
this, and then also public had the opportunity for input tonight, and then also through that online form. But future decisions to make on this stuff. So if you guys have any more questions for Brettler or myself, or want more data to be prepared for that upcoming meeting, let us know. I can connect you guys with Brettler as well.
Okay. So we don't need any action tonight, but yeah, next meeting sounds like we'll have a lot more public input, and hopefully we continue to get more public input through our online survey. So, all right, on to agenda item number 3 then. So we're going to talk about preliminary plat for development for Viridian Homes off of High Streets or High Road. So Kylie, I'll let you kind of kick us off with this one.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, yes. You're welcome. Thank you.
The drive.
No
for
problem.
sure. Yeah, you can set it right there. And then I'll let you guys share your screen in a moment. Okay. You're just nice. Okay, so the Ziegler development here, Viridian Homes has submitted their preliminary plat for Ziegler property development project. The Ziegler property is located between Graber Pond and Pheasant Branch Road, spanning 85 acres of land. The proposed.
We need to leave the door open. Sorry, they just shut the door. Oh, there is a door open over here though.
Oh, yeah,
I
good
didn't-
catch.
Normally this one's
No,
closed, but
that's okay.
okay, sorry, sorry.
No,
Kylie.
that's okay. That is an important matter. The property is located between Graber Pond and Pheasant Branch Road, spanning 85 acres of land. The proposed development consists of a mix of single-family residence for approximately 173 units. The proposal also includes a trail network linking Misty Valley Trail or Misty Valley Community Neighborhood to Pheasant Branch Ridge Park, creating a regional trail connection. You will also notice that there is a large amount of wetlands, approximately 30 acres of wetlands. And then the Plan Commission had referred this item to of the preliminary plat to Parks Rec Forestry Commission to review, and they held a public hearing for a rezoning of this property. And that was held on October 22nd with several public comments added in that. And then tonight, you guys are all to look at this and review the project. And the Plan Commission is requesting for review of parkland dedication, fee in lieu of land, and and park improvement fees and trail location and alignment to provide feedback back to the plan commission. Most interest, or what I'd most like to look at is parkland dedication with a preliminary plat, and then also trail connectivity and stormwater pieces. So I will bring up my recommendation so we can take a look at that a little further, and the concept plan. And then their meeting that they're gonna be taking this to is on November 20th. And I've included a lot within the packet, so there are a lot of pages of material, but something that we will look at and take more note of is the concept plan, which we'll run through a little bit further. And then park service maps, so parks that we have around this neighborhood and what those parks are. I also want to include the amenities and the walkability to those, and what our standards in our court plan are, and what our standards with the National Park and Rec are as well. And then I do want to run through my staff memo in full, and kind of go through the concept plan, and then I will open it up for discussion. And if you guys would like to see some further detail, we do have Brian Munson and Matt Brink from Viridian Vanderwall that do have a few items to showcase to all of you on the screen here. And if you'd like to have them present that information. So just what page is the concept? Okay, so I know I just kind of rattled a bunch of information off here. Oh, it's so. I struggle with this Zoom capability here a little bit, so bear with me. So concept here, everything kind of in the green and yellow is the Ziegler development or Ziegler property. You can see the lots. Lots here are in the yellow, the various colors of yellow and orange. And then everything in the dark green is wetland. So these are wetland areas. And then kind of in light green or with trees on it are extra spaces or stormwater spaces for private stormwater. So just taking a look at the development here. North of that is the Misty Valley neighborhood, and then we have Red Tail, and those are future streets in red or in pink there. But this is one of their concept plans. They had 3 concept plans. This one might be more accurate, but I think they have a concept plan that they have worked on. They can show you tonight in a little bit. But Red Tail and that development, and then this is also showcasing a greenway that has been identified with Graber Pond, and that runs through this area to meet up with Pheasant Branch Conservancy. So just a corridor of wildlife and what am I trying to say? Native vegetation. Thank you. So trying to create that connectivity through our community is important there. So I'll keep referencing or go back to that, but I do want to run through my staff memo, and then something we'll jump back to, but I just want to highlight to you all that within this development that's located in this area, we have I'm showcasing community mini neighborhood parks and the ranges of walkability. So we have various parks. So the red are in those neighborhood parks, and then the mini parks are in blue that just showcase the service area to this development. It is important that we have at the minimum a half-mile buffer. A walkability should be within 10 minutes to those parks, or from any resident to a park should be a maximum of 10 minutes walkability to that. And they typically look at it being a half mile. I also want to note what those parks actually have amenities within them is important because it's more than just walking to a park. Are you, do you want to walk to that park? Does it service you as an adult, as a child, or, and what age groups does that service? So, is that, did you guys need to look at a different map on there too?
I'm just trying to look at the, what is this map? The alternate plan, illustrative plan, that next to the park thing, trying to line them up.
Okay, got it. So it does, like, there are coverage to there is coverage to this development with the surrounding parks. But I think a big note that I wanna our shout out to is that High Road runs through this development, and High Road is something that we don't always consider a safe walkable space across a very busy road, and depending on the speed of traffic. So that on the east end, there's really only 2 mini parks that provide a 10-minute walkability to, versus on the west, without crossing High Road, you have neighborhood parks, 3 neighborhood parks and a mini park. So that's just something I'd like to note, is that High Road is a barrier for people, and that walkability does decrease. And then noting what's in these what's in each of these parks. These 2 parks have not been developed yet. That is on our plan for next year to develop. Those are brand new park spaces, so the amenities haven't been selected. But this is Pheasant Branch Ridge Park. We have a playground and a green space. And then in this park here, we have a soccer field and, or wait, no, not a soccer field, a baseball field and a shelter and a playground, and green space as well. And then on the east end of the development, we have a playground and a green space. And in Whittlesley Park, we have a playground and a sandbox and no green space or any other amenities there. So just kind of noting that what the east lot or east portion of the development is serviced by, or versus the west side. If I'm getting those confused, I might have been saying that backwards. I'm so sorry. But just to note that High Road does have a divide there. And then I also wanted to provide a few bits of data just on parkland and what our corp plan says. So our corp plan does have, does note that our ratio should be 15 acres of total parkland per 1,000 residents. And our population is 23,868 for population. And so what that, and then we have a total right now currently of 309 acres of parkland. And so what that means is our standard would be 358 acres, and we're under the amount of acreage that we are looking to require, that ratio that has been approved by Common Council in our court plan. And so we're short almost 50 acres. And then with growing, we do have future parks coming online, but we also have future residents coming online. With Bell Farms, we have park acreage coming up, but residents as well. Bruce Company will add, Garden District will add park acreage in the future, Red Tail Ridge. And I do have all those numbers if you have questions on them. So that's kind of that. And then I don't know if you want me to run through my staff memo now for recommendation, or you want to discuss and then I can run through staff recommendation. But I think I'll just get that done.
Let's go through your recommendation,
Mhm.
then we can
Okay.
discuss from there.
Mhm.
Page, what is that? I'm so sorry. Okay. This is. Okay. All right, so just running through the recommendation, this is very similar to our previous two developments we had discussions on for parkland dedication and initial conditions. I have the developer to dedicate a minimum of 1 acre of land for public park use to the city in the southwest corner of the parcel west of High Road to include the following. And this are only land that is fully usable for active recreation uses at the time of dedication. And then just explaining some of those active recreation uses. Cities shall not accept any land area with one or more of the following attributes. And this is something that we discussed heavily in future or previous conversations containing any environmental feature typically contributing to environmental corridor area, such as wetlands, floodways, 100-year floodplains, drainage ways, with 25 foot buffer on each side of stream and 50-foot buffer on each side of perennial stream. Hydraulic soils as identified on the Dane County soils are Wisconsin DNR mapping. Steep slopes we've talked about, so not including any of those portions into the parkland dedication. Just highlighting some of those, and then containing any stormwater management area or facilities such as stormwater basin, infiltration area, man-made or naturally occurring channel, land of unsuitable shape, dimension, or accessibility, specifically lacking any rectangular shape or narrow extensions, a minimum of cross-section dimension of 200 feet at any point. And then, so it wouldn't include any of those in the dedication. And then to maintain a 100-foot buffer from the edge of the wetland bordering Graber Pond. And I can showcase that 100-foot buffer, and then maintain approximately 135 feet of frontage along Graber Road. We are owned by the city, and increased frontage by 65 feet to create 200 feet of road frontage for parkland. Grade area to be dedicated as parkland along Graber Road to provide accessibility into the park at the grade of the road. So that would be location, parkland, and then initial conditions of that parkland, and then private stormwater outlet. So private stormwater facilities not allowed on public land, required to create a vegetation management plan for invasive species management for stormwater outlet that would be executed and be funded by development annually. The vegetation management plan would require city approval. And then trail and path connectivity, we can run back to that on the concept plan. The developer should be expected to complete as a part of its infrastructure the missing gap in the regional path that is envisioned to connect Neal Trail or Misty Valley, Middleton Ridge subdivision with the path at Pheasant Branch Ridge Park. The developer to ensure regional trail to have additional connector paths leading to and from the east lots, as well as across High Road to align with roadway C to connect into trail path network around Graber Pond and connect west lots to regional trail. Developer to provide public pedestrian access off Misty Valley driveway into open space through an easement or outlet. Developer to provide an upland path connection between the Graber Pond, Savannah, and Misty Valley. For any boardwalk segment constructed by developer, helical piles would be required as part of the construction specification. For any trail not on public land, an easement would be preferred to a land dedication. Developer to extend trail connection south outside of Ziegler parcel to connect with existing path at Pheasant Branch Ridge Park, cost subject to reimbursement by the city. So just to jump back to the concept plan. That was my full staff recommendation. And I don't know, Nick, if you wanted to allow developer to speak or if how.
I'll let you give you an opportunity to kind of just go a brief overview of your project a little bit, and just so we have, you know, all the information necessary to help us make some decisions.
Appreciate that. Let me just see if I get this. If I can share my screen here. Right.
How do I?
So it says I'm sharing through the Zoom. You have to go back and zoom to the screens. I'm not sure. It's still showing your screen, Kelly.
Yeah, I trying to figure it out.
Click on the Zoom tab.
Share screen. Let me see it.
Mhm.
I'm not sure why it's not sharing. I don't know. I thought I saw it before.
Yeah, I'm sharing on my end. Otherwise, we can go.
When I first opened this up, like Brian's screen thing.
All right. Well, while those are going around, some quick introductions. Brian Munson with Vandermolen Associates, here on behalf of Brittany Homes, Dean Matt Brink, as well as Willie Wise with Wiseman Engineering. So we've been working through the process, starting with the Plan Commission, we've been as the Service Committee, the Works Committee, the Sustainability Committee has talked about it. So we're working through kind of that introduction stage, and working to try to refine the project as we get it. And so tonight, just to touch on a couple of brief things. So in the packet in front of you, of course, is the kind of current working draft of the master plan on the first page. Picking up comments along the way. So some road configuration changes from the initial submittal, some trail configuration changes from the initial submittal, as well as refinements they're fairly critical as it relates to the parks and open space. I think Kylie gave a really good overview of the project in terms of we have a lot of wetlands, we have a lot of environmentally sensitive areas that we are working to preserve. And just to click through a couple of those. On the west side of High Road, we've revised the layout of the neighborhood to get the 100-foot setback from Graver Pond. We have revised the trail corridor east of High Road to include a connection that the Conservancy Committee recommended from the kind of diagonal regional trail connecting over to the west towards roadway C. And we've also reflected a bunch of different things to Public Works, specifically relating to avoiding wetlands with the connection of the road out to High Road on the east side of High Road. So as I said, we've been working through the process, gathering information, and wanted to share a few things tonight. On the second page of the packet is a map, much like what Kylie already showed you. So one thing I've noted, it also includes the acreage for the Bell Farm parks that are coming to the northwest of the site as well. Showing that we have fairly good coverage to both mini parks and regional parks in that quarter-mile radius. And that's important because we recognize as well the benefits of the parks and the park system towards our residents and to the overall neighborhood. One of the biggest challenges we have on this site, and I'm sure if anybody has gone by it on High Road or walked along Graver Pond, is it's on a hill. It's going to be very difficult to create a flat 1 acre park space because there's not a flat 1 acre spot that's not in a wetland on this site. If you look on the third page, you can see an exhibit from the submitted preliminary plat. Now, this has not been updated to reflect the current changes, but it's a grading plan that was included in the submittal. And it's on the back side. Sorry, I think it's the fourth page. This grading plan shows what's happening in that southwest corner. So just to kind of walk through the existing grade, as you come off of Graver Road where it dead ends, it drops down about 8 feet right there on the bank next to the sidewalk. From there, it's 35 feet down to Graver Pond. So it's about an 8 to 10% slope currently. As we begin to grade and develop the site to accommodate some of the residential components, you can see the stormwater management basin that has to go into that corner, as well as just the grading to fit some of the lots. Those lots would not meet 3% slope because those have 10 to 15 feet of grade change on them as they would be built. So think about it, the reason being, you'll have an exposed rear backyard walking out from the back of the house, but cannot be accommodated in terms of creating a flat space. And so it's not that we didn't look at the park system, we just have some constraints on our site to deliver active park spaces, which is what was being requested. The other thing I would note is that the Conservancy Committee specifically talked about pretty much everything that's not a road or a lot, they would like to see dedicated for conservancy purposes. They specifically were focused on the Greater Pond frontage, because that is an enclosed basin and the sensitivity of that basin, wanting to see that restored in native grasses. So again, just something we wanted to put out for information purposes here today. The other graphic that is in your packet has to do with the frontage along Graver Road. As noticed, currently there's a triangle of land just southwest of this property that's owned by the city. That's about 135 to 140 feet, roughly where you could measure the point. That is being preserved as an opportunity to extend the frontage for Graver Pond into this site. So if you think of that westernmost lot on Graver Road, Lynn Street has a sight line from the center down to Graver Pond. The house and lot would be off to the east. But then there's 140 feet roughly before you get to the property line of this project. That's been left open because again, it doesn't have frontage on Graver Road, but also because it opens up that opportunity for the Conservancy to continue along that street. But then I would note further west, we've got about 880 feet of public frontage along Graver Road. So a significant amount of this frontage is already dedicated to public access through this facility. And so when we look at kind of this southwest corner with the challenges of creating a true park space, we wanted to just raise that as a point of information because we feel that what's being proposed kind of balances what's the development of the site along with the conservancy nature of the Graver Pond frontage. And so we appreciate the opportunity to present tonight. We would ask that you think about the geography of the site and the grade changes that are present on the site as to whether a park is possible here. Also noting again that we feel that there is pretty good coverage for parks in terms of access both on the west side of High Road and the east side of High Road to future parks that are coming and parks that exist. So happy to answer any questions and look forward to continuing the conversation.
All right, thank you. So any initial thoughts or feedback on the developer presented to us or what the staff memo is recommending?
Staff didn't really have a recommendation of where to put it, right? Just mostly these are the requirements. Right? You guys didn't have a spot where you were like, oh, this would be
Yeah, we did,
perfect.
or I did. And maybe that, there was a lot of words in there, so thank you for being
So many
patient.
words.
Thank you for being patient. We were looking at this.
That 140 feet.
Plus this, or it would go 200 feet, so, overlapping this first lot here. Initial conversations, we were taking a look at a park in this entire location. But just as it's very close to the trail system, we think that the, west side of this development isn't serviced as well with walkability to neighborhood parks. There is going to be a future regional park. So yes, when we look at community parks, not regional, community parks, they do service the entire community. I don't like to always showcase the community parks because they do have more of a drivable amenity. But looking at walkable parks on this side, you have a park located, it's about a half acre. It has a playground that services about 2 to maybe 12 years old, and then an open green space up in that location. And then, And then looking at the other park that services this neighborhood, Whittlesley Park, there's a play area for 2 years old to, or Hawk Ridge, I'm so sorry, thank you. Then 2 to maybe 6 years old for play equipment. And then a sandbox area, but no real open green space. I think it's really important for all these residents that we take a look at having an active space where if somebody wants to go throw a baseball or kick soccer ball or any of that. So just this area over here with us already having frontage and knowing that this could be a really good site for connectivity to our trails. We were looking at right now, it is pretty flat with it being farmed land. But there is a drop off into that park that would have to be regraded to make the park work. I know they showed regrading what works for the house, and something that developers will always come towards is that there isn't space for a park, but there is space. There's always space for a park. It depends on how you look at the plans, and it's important as us for Parks and Rec to really know that once we discuss and talk about parkland dedication, it's for generations to come, and you can't go back and change that.
And to kind of piggyback on what Kylie's last comment there. So a few years ago, we kind of got told, like, for lack of a better term, to create a new playground west of the Beltline out by Greenway Station. Because there was no park service area west of the Beltline in the city of Middleton. And part of that is because planning commissions, city councils, parks, recreation, forestry commissions in the 1990s, 20 some years ago or early 2000s did not require any parkland to be dedicated out there. And now we have large apartment buildings that have no, city owned green space. And, we can point fingers, but we can't do much about that. Right. So we're kind of thinking, my initial thought is, I don't want to be blamed 20 years from now for our city not having enough parkland. In 20 years, somebody might come back and say, oh my gosh, we need much more green space, playgrounds, all that other stuff. And it's too late because we've developed everything that we missed some opportunities. So that's just kind of how I'm going to start off. Also, we are a parks board, and we advocate strongly for as much active parkland as we possibly can get in any development that's coming up in our city. So I think that's kind of how I stand right now, that I think we should be actively working to find a way to put some active parkland here.
And for this development, the requirement for in our ordinance is 5.75 acres of fee or like land dedication. And the Conservancy Committee did meet first. So they had a stab at this first. And we did discuss that parks would still have to have that conversation of where a parkland would be located and what they'd like to see. And that was noted at the meeting.
How many acres is that if you take those 4 houses off?
It's I would have to measure it in GIS.
That's what you originally wanted.
I would have to look at it in GIS.
And these lots are like pretty small, aren't they?
There's 7,500, so about 7,000 square feet.
So like what is that for an acre? So that's not
Per
even
acre,
like point what?
or quarter.
Per acre. So you would think that people would want, land, a park to play at.
Any other initial thoughts?
Can the 5 acres be split up?
It definitely, yes, it per ordinance right now, how it's written, it would be land dedication. So it could be conservancy, parkland combined to or equal that amount. So they wouldn't be charged in lieu of, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, no, I
and
understand
think
that part. They can't-
Conservancy Lands is looking for a lot more than 6 acres of land. So,
But we are, this is tricky with the topography. Right?
with
With-
the or grading of this site,
Yeah,
I think, there's definitely a way to gain access into this area. Where this trail is, I know we'd have to regrade, a portion of this area, but, there's always a way if you want to get a park in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the biggest challenge is the grade. The only way you can create, to get a 3% slope park space for active use on this site, you're gonna end up with a 20 to 25 foot tall retaining. There's no other way to do it, because we fall off 8 feet of the sidewalk, and then we go down 35 feet to the pond. There's no flat spot here that is going to be created other than significant fill to bring it up. There's a comment to bring it up to Gravy Road. We would have to fill a significant area of this site to lift it up, which means we then have to transition off the backside down. And we've compressed the grade
Sure.
across this area into a very small location, which requires.
I'm gonna ask a question that I think I already know the answer to, but is there any way to take some of the stormwater facilities, especially like just south of Waxwing, and move that stormwater facility somewhere else?
Yeah, that's a challenge. This, another complication of this site is the soil.
Yeah.
Stormwater management so we've designed it to meet 100% stay on, which is
Right.
a higher standard.
Right.
But to do that, we have to move it up into soils that can accept it.
Yeah.
Which is what drives the locations of where those basins have.
You can't really dump the stormwater onto wetlands. I understand that. I just look at that little triangle and I go, that would be conveniently located to a lot of homes, especially the homes that have smaller lots that desperately need park space. This site sucks. I've mentioned this to you before. I think you guys did a pretty darn good job considering what you were dealing with. It's tough. I think Hiley's done a pretty good job of trying to determine some spot that would potentially work for a park. The problem with it is A, grading, and B, it's about as far away as you can get all those from the majority of the homes here. I mean, it could be on the far west side of this where it's all wetlands. Obviously, that won't work, but it just, there's not a good place for a park in here unless we start really starting to pull several home sites out, which isn't something I really want to see.
Enjoy that more.
But
Wouldn't people want to live there if there's like a nice park in the middle? If I were to buy a house, I would want a park, not just tons of homes, no.
Matt Brick, Burning Homes. Yeah, so with parks, and parks are certainly one of the most important aspects that we consider whatever we're looking at development. And it is one of the best amenities that we try to afford in our neighborhoods, and it's always one of the first things that we do put in. Typically, we work with municipalities to find ways to look at park fees and have us actually do the work, a lot of detail within that, but we try to get the biggest we can. So what we looked at this, in our opinion, really every way that we can responsibly approach this. And when we then have to balance having a viable project and removing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lots, that really starts to add up. And the plan that's reflected here of 173 home sites, the plan that's going to be resubmitted, we're down to 167 at this point. And that was caused by our efforts to accommodate other requests that have come forward, other communities. One of the aspects we didn't mention either on the north side of the west parcel, Conservancy Committee requested an environmental corridor. For animals who will not be able to work through, so we compress some of our lot sizing, downsize them, that's not something that can be maintained from those sites, and so other factors that really go into the overall viability of the site itself. So we're gonna be coming back with already these 6 fewer homes that we're seeing here, so our ability and capacity to remove future lots is really constrained at this time. And when we looked at this and it overlaid the other parks that have been quoted out to half mile radius that the ordinances before us, and then what we comfortable with our residents having to travel to, we felt we were finding a good balance. There really is a lot here when you get into these fill connections and all the back and forth like this, there, stuff that really good. When on that front, we're just really kind of at the limit as to, we don't see a good way to make this work. Brian alluded to make this work here and establish any sort of grade that would be 88,000, 50% slope. It would be so costly from both the field perspective and the retaining wall perspective. It's just really difficult to do. So there just isn't a really easy answer for us. We'd love to do that. So moving lots at this point is just really difficult for us to make work. That's the best I can have at this point. It's just this difficult kind of crossroads here with that grade and that steep drop off. It's just really not able to use.
I'm wondering if I could hear from Mark Opitz on this. I want everyone to appreciate that Parks does this amazing job of fighting for this green space, which we need. The city also has the task of finding homes for everybody. And so we're not just saying, oh, you know, you greedy developers, you don't need all those houses. We need them for people to live here and work here as well. So, you know, I don't mean to be going against this committee because I'm on it, but it's a tricky balance that we're all trying to strike. And I'd love your feedback.
I don't have too much to say other than I support my colleagues in the Parks and Rec Department and their assessment of parks. That's their expertise. As Kylie mentioned, they at one point initially had looked at a larger area for parkland on the southwest corner of the western site. And I think that scaled back to just the one lot. Kylie, is that what you said? I understand the topographic constraints that Matt and Brian are mentioning, that is a hilly site, but I defer to their expertise. I do want to make one comment, which is, Matt, you mentioned that realigning of the road, if you can scroll up a little bit, please. Realigning the road so that it's.
It used to be here
Yeah, it used to be a little north of that.
or there
It used to be
maybe.
About there.
Okay.
So that realignment, which has been endorsed, which actually I recommended to the Planning Commission, and they endorsed, and that Public Works Committee has said they can live with that as well. That loses about 5 lots, is that what you're saying? But what, Matt, you didn't mention is that the Planning Commission and Public Works Committee have also endorsed the idea of, if you go east on that road, way to that curve from far north where the white lots are, that actually we've endorsed. And Planning Commission, certainly, I was the city planner, wholeheartedly support this, is having that curved road be squared off, so it's a 90-degree turn. That should actually be able to restore a few of the lost lots. So I'm optimistic that as we work together with the development team, that there could be, instead of having large lots at an angle like that, there could be some additional lots restored to the development. So I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that yet, but that is something I would point out. This is a benefit that, you know, that there's flexibility on the city's part to look at that option. We do have several examples in the city of where there are 90-degree turns like that to basically, what's a 90-degree turn? John Muir and Ramsey come to mind, that intersection of skills. And there's others as well. So that's my only other comment, is that I'm hoping that the alterations to the site plan that have been made over the last few weeks are essentially still resulting in close to 173 lots, maybe hundreds of lots.
So that helps if we need to take a lot or two away down in that southwest corner that we can,
And I want to also thank the development team for responding to the CLC. And with the green space on the west side, if you go at the northern end of the west side, yeah, right there, go west along the lot, like the west, along right there, yeah. They actually are working to establish a greenway through there.
They didn't make a they didn't make a recommendation for this. They discussed it. But
And from what I
they-
talked
yeah,
about with the
that's
development,
awesome, yeah.
they're working to, it sounds like they can come. But they've been very responsive.
Yep.
And that's reflected in the plan. I would note that the 90-degree turn and that greenway is in the plan set that you print off.
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah.
that you guys, that we have, yeah, yeah.
I just poll the rest of the committee. I'm trying to look at this, and the only places I can see that's sort of maybe makes sense
Oh.
for park space would be along High Road. And I don't know, do we want a park along High Road?
Why would we put a park there?
Where on,
I would assume, David, are you talking about on the
This corner.
on the
I
west
would-
side of High Road between
Would not-
roadway C and Graber?
Those two lots right there, that Kylie's was pointing at. Or at the top, at the very north portion of the stormwater, just upon the entrance.
Mhm.
This
Yeah, that.
and like,
wait, oh,
And I'm not saying these are good, but my first question is. Do we just nix them to begin with because they're along High Road and High Road is not something we really want to park? I mean, not park next to.
well, in this neighborhood is very well serviced by the neighborhood parks coming in Red Tail Ridge and those areas. And I also think accessibility and being so close to that's something I took out initially, like
Okay.
that was presented or discussed, and I took that out initially just because accessibility and walkability to that,
To which?
to this area,
No, I'm talking to the other
And
side of
then
High
this-
Road from there.
other side of High
Yeah,
Road.
those two lots that
These
are
two?
abutting,
Right there.
yeah,
Yeah.
those two lots that are abutting High Road.
Oh,
They're, I mean, they're larger lots because they are along the roadway. It would only be two lots. And they wouldn't be the nicest lots because they are along the road, but. Do we want to park them?
I would rather have a park that's close to a trail and
I
off of
understand.
our
Yeah.
conservancy lands, so and even something in here I considered, but I know that these lots are valuable to the development, but just because about 3-4 of these lots are within the 100-foot the 100-foot that we're trying to stay away from with development from Graber Pond, that
Mhm.
maybe though that location would be a better location for a park, so that there wouldn't be development on that.
Well, they've rerouted things so that they've kept the 100-foot.
I was trying to be
Mhm.
negotiate kind of as,
Yeah,
you know.
I get it.
Yeah, and I know that was a kind of a point of discussion when this initially was brought up to the Plan Commission, when we reviewed it at our last meeting, was the 100-foot line to the wetlands bordering Graber Pond. Regarding a park along High Road, my biggest concern is, that road is A, gonna be reconstructed at some point. It has to
Oh,
be. B, I think, because of this development and then Red Tail Ridge, traffic is just gonna get a lot more.
Yep.
There's gonna be a lot more traffic. Now, it's not gonna be,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I said it's
Yeah.
a non-starter.
yeah, and I mean, the park up by our house is on Century Avenue, so it doesn't get
Right.
much louder than that, right? But also there's no green space.
Right.
So you're not having kids playing ball and having that go out in the middle of Century Avenue, but I do feel that along High Road might be a little, I'm thinking of myself as a parent. Is that the best idea? But
No, but
yeah,
there are a lot of limitations here, and I mean, I think that the question about we want to work with the developer
Yeah.
and come up with something that provides good home lots
yeah,
and provides good amenities.
Yeah.
And it's a tough balance.
If I could add one point of info, just, again, the challenge of this site is the grade is everywhere. It's all
Mhm.
yeah. Graver Road on this graphic down to Highway C is, roadway C is 15 feet lower than Graver Road. So it's not just grade north-south, it's east-west and in every direction. There's not a flat spot to be found.
Right.
Unless you're in the wetlands.
Yeah.
And so that's part of that challenge. And it's, as Matt said, it's not that we're not trying to accommodate.
Right.
Getting pulled in a lot of directions. And then layering over the top of that, grade complicating the ability to break.
And I agree completely with Nick's statement about, we don't want to be in another situation where we're being told we didn't get park space for what we needed it. So, I mean, I think the discussion is very important. But sometimes,
If I edited the stormwater discussion,
sorry?
would it help if I edited the stormwater?
Absolutely.
So, why didn't? Part of the option, the projects that we work on in the city of Brooklyn, they're very detailed. And, not only is it, actually looking at it, and you look at the contours and you think of it three-dimensional, but we also have to look at the scope. So I think the main thing that we want to point out is, this has been through careful consideration with your public works and engineering staff. We've done 2 iterations of the stormwater management plan now, and the stormwater facilities that we show them here, really it's a cooperative effort to identify where the best spots are to recharge the aquifer, to really get water back into the ground. And not only is it a horizontal location, but it's also a vertical elevation that we're trying to hit. Because as you can imagine, we get closer to Graver Pond, the soils down there, they're sensitive. They're sensitive to infiltration. They've got to be up gradient. The bottom of these facilities are set in coordination with your staff, to make sure this meets compliance. So I think the takeaway for me, at least, to help this conversation is, if you look at that stormwater facility that we have closest to Graver Pond, that's in its horizontal and its vertical location after careful consideration and modeling and analysis. So if you look at that plan and you see the blue part of the pond, that elevation right there is basically 9/10. That's gotta be set that way to get the infiltration. That's based on the bounds of Graver Pond and other things. If you project that then to the street, the existing street at Graver Road, where we got into it, is roughly 9/4. So while there's 30 feet of grade there to make up, it might intuitively think, well, we can stretch that grade out and soften. But in reality, that pond really needs to be located there in that proximity to that street. So that 30-foot of drop, we don't have a way necessarily to flatten it out unless we do like Brian indicated earlier. And that really applies to a lot of these ponds as well. So I'm happy to detail that further in any of the other ponds you're looking for.
So
But again, the ponds and the grades are hard for the site.
ponds at 910, Graver's close to 910, correct?
940.
940, Graver's 940?
Graver Road.
No,
I'm
Graver
sorry.
Pond.
Graver Pond's roughly 905.
Okay. I was gonna be really confused there for a minute.
Sweeping roads. The other thing I just want to mention as it relates to grades, we're working, with your public works staff and your public works commission. The profile of these roads, almost all of them have an 8% max that the city allows. So that can kind of give you a feel for the grade out here as well. If you looked at the grading plan, there's contours all over this thing, so it's
Yeah,
really hard to get flat.
I'm looking at Access Dane.
That's a contour. That's a reading.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Other feedback or comments?
Would it be like, I'm not, sorry, I haven't looked at this map in a second, but would it be smart to maybe, I don't really know the feasibility of this, but maybe those smaller parks or some of the other parks, maybe if we can't put a new park in, maybe enhancing the ones that are there to maybe make it like, cause it is at least somewhat serviced by the littler parks, right? To maybe make it, maybe people don't want to make the trip because there's less there. Maybe if we can enhance the space there, it'll be worth more of the trip to go there.
Yeah, that's a definitely something that we need to consider
Yeah.
with like taking a look at the amenities and what do they service for the or for the community and what do our needs are. So with this development, there will be park improvement fees that will be assessed. The park improvement fees are there to be used in parks only for improvements of those areas. So if we wouldn't be looking at a park space being dedicated, it would be a park improvement fee, and the fee zone for the entire city is one zone. So park improvement fees can be utilized through the entire city. It doesn't have to just be utilized for the neighboring parks, but it's something we could consider here for this site.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll always advocate for as much parkland as we can get. I will say though, hearing we might need a 24-foot retaining wall, I think about, I'm not just even thinking about the aesthetics, I'm just thinking of what if we get another 1,000-year rainstorm or 100-year rainstorm, and those can wash out. And I know sometimes they're not easy to wash out, but I do worry about long-term maintenance of that too. If that would be come to fruition, that is something that does concern me.
Yeah.
But so.
Yeah.
Anyways. Kylie, you're gonna need a motion from us tonight.
Yep, I
right?
think something to go towards plan commission and to help the developers continue on their targets as well. I think preliminary plat is kind of the first look at it. There's gonna be the final plat brought back and if not, at least one more time for review. And I think it's always important to steer direction for the future of this project right now, so. Big decisions, right?
Mhm.
I can go towards my staff recommendation. Was that page?
Yeah, let's look at that again.
I don't know if that helps to relook at. It was that 1 acre minimum of 1 acre in that area. It potentially could be a different acreage if it has to be graded at a different level. I know that there's a lot that goes into a developer site, but taking a look at the park in that area and then initial conditions of it and private stormwater outlet, and then also a trail connectivity isn't something we talked about, so I just want to go through from the staff recommendation. They're slowing down. Okay, I'm sorry. So for trail connectivity, it would be this trail within here and boardwalk, just alignment really. The Parks and Rec concern is that there would be a trail connecting. There's a trail that runs all the way to Pheasant Branch through there and behind the park. I have this picture above there, which isn't super helpful, but that trail runs through, and just making sure there's a point from this trail that would go all the way, and I can bring up a Google map here too, that would run to this trail in the Misty Valley area. If it's aligned in this way, we are open to that. Having a boardwalk section would be needed through the wetland to connect through there, but then also having that connectivity. I know on the printed off sheet, you have that other piece that we requested to connect to roadway C. So kind of an X there. We just want to have our trail connect from behind Pheasant Branch Ridge Park up to the Misty Valley to help connect to the future Bell Farms Park as well. And that connectivity to the, some of the mini or neighborhood parks. And then we're also looking, our recommendation was added. There's an outlet here for a stormwater easement, I believe, for the developer. So making sure that we have access into this area. And we would be looking at a trail segment to be added to connect here or connect to Graber Road and run along these home lines up or lot lines up to connect, and we would make a connection up to that section. And so it wouldn't be boardwalks. Our boardwalk is underwater quite a bit of the year and in rough condition, and we just want to make sure that access and connectivity through on the east side of this or west side of this development is has accessibility to all the parks and trail system. So that was also added for the trail segment. I don't know if anybody has questions before I go back to my.
How many lots are you proposing that be removed down here at that 140-foot?
I was
point?
recommending one. I honestly just really see a trailhead here for a trail that can run down Graber Road, all the way down Graber Road to connect out to Highway 12 and Bell Farm. So having a site where people, a rest stop almost, where they can enjoy active parks, but yeah.
So you're not really picturing a playground here. This is more conservancy, is that?
No,
what
I would like to see somewhere to service this neighborhood
you're-
that
Okay.
we would have an area for an active play, if it's soccer or basketball or playground or whatever the neighborhood decides after would get to that phase, but
But one lot would do it?
I was proposing one lot. I know I said this whole entire area, but I was at this time and the recommendation to get to 1 acre of park. I was just trying to get 1 acre of park at least. I know we, with our corp plan, we have a higher standard that we're not meeting. So I'm just trying to get a larger area of space, but.
We were to give up the 1 acre.
What was that?
We were to give up the goal of 1 acre. And so we wouldn't have something where you could really do a lot with even soccer ball around, or maybe a little bit, but not much, and have really a mini park of, in essence, one lot.
Yeah, this,
Would that be acceptable at all?
I mean, that's a question that is up to you guys of but I do believe that
Right here.
this
So
is 0.5 acres, just to reference.
what's the point?
This Misty Valley or
Yeah.
Middleton
So-
Ridge.
I mean. Okay, so I'm looking at the northeast corner lot of Misty and Highway C. And it's a corner lot and it's less than a 90-degree angle, so that makes it
Yeah.
not the nicest lot around, but it would have good exposure. You'd only be able to put some playground equipment in there and have a little running around space. But for little kids, that's what you're looking for.
Yes.
And I'm looking at this lot right here, Misty and C.
Or C.
North side of C, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
North of C and west of
One
Misty
where my
Valley.
mom's is on.
Yeah, there's
You know,
one.
you could take a little bit of the lot above it, just, reconfigure that so that the two sides are kind of parallel. Anyway, it wouldn't be very big. It would be some park space. It would be something that a lot of people could get to easily. It's not really where I would like it, but as I look at access, Dane, and you guys know better than I do because there's no overlay for me to help me out, but it looks like it's kind of flat.
Cause they make it flat.
Yep, that's about where the bridge breaks.
Yeah. That's what I saw.
That plus enhancing the existing parks.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, that. So there's not a ton of contour lines through there.
I think where Kylie said is a prettier area.
Oh,
Looks
it
like would be
is.
prettier.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
And like maybe even
Oh,
taking 2 lots.
Absolutely.
But
I
we
think
need that
1
big
acre is like nothing,
retaining,
for
we need
goodness
that
sakes.
big retaining wall.
And I don't know that you need it up to a, like a 3% for parkland and the trail grade. It's less than, it's 8%. So I know it's like an 8% grade for a trail to be ADA compliant and to. So yes, regrade, we would have to look at that further,
Mhm.
for sure. And I don't know, I don't have the retaining wall heights and all that good stuff
Okay.
figured out.
I mean, you took this and.
Right.
Yeah, but if a house can go there, I don't understand why a park can't.
Right. I was wondering the same thing. All right. Any other discussion? Because we probably have to make some decisions here sooner than later, because I am cognizant of the fact that it's almost 9 o'clock as well.
Well, I propose taking 2 of those houses out. And what Kylie said.
Would you make a motion of? Make a motion on that and, or can we be even more vague and kind of accept the motion of 1 acre or even half acre? I don't
We'd
know.
like to have the developer try to reconfigure
Mhm.
things so we get approximately an acre or close to in that area. And see what the grading can look like. I mean, I looked at what they've done for the grading just outside the lots there in that corner, and they just falls and.
If I can help you understand the detailed grading plan.
Please just speak at the microphone. I'm so sorry, just because we're on Zoom, so we can have it recorded.
Yeah, you bet. I just want to make sure that as you look at that specific lot we're talking about, so that everybody's clear. The way we're able to make a house work there, you've got 10 feet of drop from the first floor to basically like the walkout.
Right.
So if you look at our grading plan there, we do that, and at that walkout basement elevation, it drops off at a 3-1 slate rating. Okay, so if you take out the ability to make that 10-foot change in the structure, right, and you create park space, you've just got a continuation of that grade all the way. That's it, 3-1 basically.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a steep hill, and if you kick the soccer ball, it's just gonna end up in
In the pot,
In the pond.
water.
or in the retention,
Yeah, so
stormwater retention.
just wanted to clarify that on the grading plan, keep that right.
Okay.
I understand. I tried to pick a flat spot.
Flat spot would be
So
where.
this is Dave's recommendations.
That is up here.
Misty and C.
Misty and see this.
And I guess maybe like just knowing that
This
if
one?
you guys see
Yeah.
the need for a park on this side and maybe making
Yeah.
a recommendation preliminary, just that to
Yeah, I
find a
know, okay, I
location
already
for
circled it, so-
a park of a
But-
certain,
It wouldn't be very big,
I don't know.
but it's
Yeah,
something.
but.
What
It's
about
fine.
Misty Valley and
This-
roadway A? Those 2 or 3 lots.
If they did this and enhanced all the other parks.
I think maybe instead of trying to pick out.
Yeah.
This
seems very complicated.
Let's,
To answer.
yeah, let's have the discussion kind of
The
go.
question was about the 3 lots, at Misty Valley and roadway A, same problem, we're falling to north and to the east at that point, so there would be. Oh, sorry. Oh, no. For first Zoom, the corner of Misty Valley and A is falling to the north and then to the east at that point. So again, we're kind of rolling off that flat spot already. And
So is this one? pretty
yep,
good?
and if Wade, if you want to.
There's one lot we could.
If you want the most appreciable lot to grading that we could take a look at It would kind of be on the east side of Misty Valley Drive, in between roadway A and roadway C. There's one lot there that I think, David, you pointed out was on the High Point Ridge.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is the flattest lot that I have my eyes on right now that we can study.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I just looking at access Dane and trying to figure out something. Not much.
So we could,
So trail access,
Mhm.
like kind of wants, could turn here.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. So the idea is that there might be a trail access kind of along that 100-foot or near that 100-foot or on the back end of the houses. And then
Turn in.
cutting in
C.
and then accessing at roadway C. And if you had a park at the corner of roadway C and Misty Valley, that would connect into a trail.
Yep.
That would then go down into the park area or into the pond area.
Right.
Right. So you would have connectivity there.
Yep.
Between park and the pond, you
Yep.
know, and it would be a little bit more flat and it'd also be surrounded by more houses, at least in this new development.
Right.
Right. So there is that advantage to it. And you wouldn't have as many grading issues. Yeah. Would that be endorsable? It would probably be one
One.
lot. Yeah, so then that one lot is
Mhm.
0.19 acres. So it's
I
not
mean,
very big. You could put playground equipment there.
maybe they could push some of the lots a little bit and get up to a quarter acre.
I mean, that plus enhancing the other existing
Yes.
parks.
I don't know if this, like this lot or this lot,
Which one?
because there would be an access path through here of this
No,
lot.
those are drop off. Those houses have the big
Yeah.
drop
Yeah,
offs
big
behind them. They have
regulations.
to have the big exposed basement because it drops down the hill.
Yes, everything west of Misty Valley, all those lots are exposure.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like the rest of I'm just gonna kind of go to the rest of the staff recommendation. I kind of felt like that was, we haven't really discussed much of it, but I think the developer has taken care of a lot of that, like the trail connectivity. I feel like that's already kind of planned in quite well. None of the stormwater areas would be used as dedicated land. So I think most of those have pretty much been already they're covered already by the proposal, as I'm understanding it. So we wouldn't have to necessarily, really, our point of contention is, do we ask you to find us even, a little bit of land for a park? And I think that's where we're at right now. I think everything else seems pretty agreeable between us and the developer in terms of the staff proposal. So we just kind of need to narrow things down with
I guess my question is, do we consider to have 2/10 or a quarter acre sufficient for a mini park? Or is that just too small?
again, what's, Kylie, I should always know this now because I live next to it. How big is Baskerville?
I'm not sure. I don't have that in front of me.
Oh, what
But
about
it's
the
gotta be a point.
meadows?
What?
What about the one on South Avenue, the meadows?
Those parts
Parks.
is bigger.
Pretty big.
That one.
Mhm.
It's gotta be that one, but I don't have those in front of me right now.
Baskerville is the smallest park in our system.
I would think so, yeah.
Lakeview, Lake Street,
Oh, yeah.
0.13 or 0.3.
We won't get there yet.
Yeah. Those are neighborhood parks are typically like our neighborhood park is over 3 acres.
Right, but this would be a mini park.
Anything under
Yeah.
that is, I would say, is a mini park or a special use park,
Mhm.
depending, but this would be a mini park of what you guys would
The mini park, I think people would really.
Yeah.
appreciate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
looking at.
And I think, I'm not sure what kind of, I guess homeowners you're going to be attracting to this area, but when I think of new development, I often think of young families going into new
Mhm.
developments. And that's what I've seen,
0.2.
Okay, so Baskerville
Baskerville is
Park
0.2.
is our smallest park in the system. It's 0.2 acres. I'm not sure if you're
Actually,
familiar.
0.199.
0.199. So it's basically the size of this
Yeah.
lot here.
Yes.
So if you're not familiar with the Baskerville Park, it's up on Century Avenue in Highland. It is, it has a slide, a swing. It has, I think now a merry-go-round. It has a sandbox. So it's, for me as a parent, when I took my kids there, it was enough. 'Cause we're not spending much more than 45 minutes there anyways, and that was plenty for my kids. And it's right off of Century Avenue, so we also had the added noise onto it. And and Century Avenue definitely slopes off there too, it goes down, and there was a big hill drop off from the park down to Century Avenue, but it's also not a place that you're throwing a ball around because there's a lot of trees around it, it's in trees. So I think that's as small as I would ever want to go as a park, in terms of like for a playground. So to answer your question, David, I'd be okay if that's something that we could get out, if we can get anything, that's our kind of our floor of the size. I'd be okay with that personally, but I'm not sure how the rest of the commission feels.
I would prefer 2 lots, at least. But, yeah, I think any.
Okay. So 1, possibly 2 lots.
On C.
On or near C.
And I think to just try to get an acreage number, and being a little open with
Mhm.
kind of location or general location, so we can work that in, but. Right?
Okay. Oh. So do we have a minimum acreage number that we'd be willing to accept for parkland?
Quarter acre.
Quarter acre? We'd be okay with that? I know we'd like more, but
Mhm.
all right. Well, if someone is willing to make a motion, we'll definitely entertain one.
I move that we ask the developer to find a quarter-acre parkland near the corner of Misty Valley Drive and roadway C. Do we need to ask for enhancement of the other parks at this motion? Okay, that's the end
Do
of
we
my
wanna add
motion
in
then.
Something about trails on the backside of.
I don't know if I
Valley.
need to, we're just trying to find the space, right?
I would love to see, private stormwater, just, that piece included, and then, all of section 3 included. Trails are something that we oversee as Parks and Rec along with Conservancy.
Okay, wait a second. I rescind my motion because I have to redo it now.
So almost
How-
accept
How
staff.
do you want this?
I would love, or like the section that you had about the 4th acre parkland dedication near the corner of Misty Valley Drive and C, along with endorsing staff recommendation, number 2 pertaining to a private stormwater outlet, and number 3 pertaining to trail and path connectivity and alignment recommendation.
That's my motion.
I'll second that.
All right, we do have a motion. We do have a second. Do you have any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, thank you very much. Our final is liaison reports. I will say last time Plan Commission, we took this item up. And we kind of, most of that discussion was about the roadway alignments on the east side of the development. We pushed, recommended and endorsed moving that to the farthest north on that, so that you can see reflected on our printouts here, and aligning the trail with the Keneal Trail. Also, big thing, and this is something that the public in the hearing came up with, talked about a lot, was retaining a wildlife corridor, because they do have wildlife go in there, and that has been reflected by the developer as well along the north side of their development. That's pretty much the bulk of what we discussed at our last plan commission meeting. And I think you, Conservancy Lands, you also had the.
Yeah, we also took it up and we reinforced that whole, and as demonstrated in their drawings, that corridor going through there. I mean,
Which corridor? Can you
the
help me?
corridor in the very
Right.
north portion of the western,
Right here?
Yep.
yeah, right there.
Okay.
And because we've got all the stormwater, and we need a connection between the wetlands and Graber Pond. Plus, we're trying to make as large a pathway, which isn't much, but for wildlife, because there are fox, deer, and other
So this
critters
is
that go
trail.
back and forth, and
This is-
we can't ignore them, otherwise
It's
we'll
green.
have a conflict. Well, we do
Wooden.
anyway, but we were just trying to provide as much pathway for them as possible.
Mhm.
I had about 12 turkeys in my front yard yesterday morning, so.
All right, and then campus community, have you met recently or?
I missed the last one. I think they were just a tour.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
toured we toured the current city buildings to see the current conditions. And it's horrifying,
Thank you for adding that piece in there, Katie.
Horrifying piece.
horrifying. Things like stairs that aren't up to code, and did you know there are still jail cells in here?
No.
We use them for all the voting election stuff. It's, that's where all the election
Cool.
materials are located.
I didn't know there were either. Anyway, it really brought to light that we really need to improve stuff.
Did you visit the elevator in this building?
No, they didn't. We didn't go to the side, or did we see the door of it or
Let
something?
people know there is an elevator,
Yeah.
but we.
Oh, there
want
is
to-
one.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's to public works, so that.
But it doesn't service the other half of the building.
Yeah.
So it's not, this building isn't even ADA
No, it's not.
compliant. So, yeah. Start over.
Right. Well,
It's also not attractive.
Yeah, exactly.
all right, well, we are through our agenda, so I will declare us adjourned for the night. Thank you for slogging through this tonight.
My God, it was a slog, and the clocks are still throwing it.
That's Sam. Past 10 o'clock.
That's the.
Yeah.